Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is Derby weekend this weekend. Liverpool are facing Everton at Anfield on Sunday afternoon, and everyone's excited, everyone's nervous, no one really knows what to expect in this game, and that is exactly how it should be for a derby, really, isn't it? I mean, if this game had happened about a month ago and Everton had came to Anfield under David Unsworth when they were in that awful patch of form, I think everyone would have just expected Everton to just absolutely get wiped out, completely destroyed by Liverpool, and it would have been no contest whatsoever. Now, of course, things have changed. Everton have moved David Unsworth to the side. They've brought in Sam Allardyce as their new manager, and over the last week and a half that he's been there, they've been going through a little bit of a new manager bounce, and I think suddenly a lot of Liverpool fans are getting a wee bit worried about what is going to happen in this game, because obviously, we don't have an amazing track record against Sam Allardyce. Last time Jurgen Klopp came up against him was when we played Crystal Palace at Anfield last season. That didn't go well. We lost that game 2-1. And in general, Liverpool don't have a great record against Allardyce-style teams. Teams that like to hoof the ball upfield, teams that like to sit back and soak up pressure, teams that are good at defensive organisation and stuff like that. And suddenly I think a lot of people are doubting whether Liverpool are actually going to get the result that we were all expecting for this Merseyside derby. Now, for me personally, it doesn't affect me as much. I'm not super duper worried. Obviously, I would have rather we played Everton about a month ago when they were absolutely appalling at football, because we would have just wiped the floor with them. We would have probably won 5, 6 or 7-0, and that would have been lovely. That would have been great. It would have been great to get the derby out of the way with minimal fuss and minimal nerves, but sadly, that is not how it's going to be. It is going to be slightly nervy going into the game, but again, for me personally, I'm not super duper worried about playing against Everton, because simply Liverpool have got very good at one thing recently, and that's consistency. And it's also to do with, beating teams that we really should be beating. That was why we didn't beat Crystal Palace at Anfield last season, is because we didn't quite have that quality about us. And over the last month and a half or so, mainly since the defeat against Spurs, Liverpool have got really good at beating teams that just aren't as good as them. Playing against Southampton, Huddersfield, Spartak Moscow even, all these kind of teams that have come to Anfield have lost, and then it's just been a formality, really. And at the end of the day, no matter who Everton's manager is, they are still just not as good as Liverpool. So for me, I'm quite confident going into this game. So, team news going into the match. Obviously, Alberto Moreno is out, sadly, for this game after his injury against Spartak Moscow. He was forced off in the first half of that game in tears, understandably. Very disappointing that he's not going to be playing in this game. Jurgen Klopp has said that it's quite a rare, strange injury that he's got, so he is seeing a specialist. We don't yet know how long he's going to be out for. It could just be a couple of games. It could be all the way into the new year, which would obviously be awful, because we really need a player like Alberto Moreno over the busy festive schedule. But yeah, not going to be available for this game. Joel Matip as well, highly unlikely that he will feature. And elsewhere, Jurgen Klopp said in his press conference after the game against Spartak Moscow that Jordan Henderson would 100% definitely be starting in the derby. So as for how I think we're actually going to line up, of course it's going to be Simon Mignolet in goal. You guys all know the drill there. He's our Premier League keeper. He's been reasonably decent so far this season, so no complaints, no surprises there. The centre-back pairing, I think, is going to be Dejan Lovren and Ranier Klavan, and then I think either side of them is going to be Joe Gomez and Andrew Robertson. The reason I'm going for Robertson over Milner, because obviously with Moreno out, that's kind of the question at the moment, is because I think if we do go for Joe Gomez at right back, which is kind of what I'm expecting, then Robertson will be able to roam forward a little bit more and just do a little bit more further up the pitch and not have too much responsibility defensively, because what we've seen a lot so far this season is when Alberto Moreno goes marauding with those runs down the left-hand side, Joe Gomez will often tuck in to sort of create a back three with the other two centre-backs, which kind of works because Joe Gomez is actually a centre-back by trade rather than a right-back. So if we were playing Trent Alexander-Arnold at right-back in this game, which I personally think would be a possibility if we had Alberto Moreno on the other side, then maybe we'd go for James Milner for a bit more defensive stability. But I'm expecting us to go with Joe Gomez. He had a really, really good game against Spartak Moscow. He's been fantastic so far this season. I think it was Chris Pajak off the Red Men TV said basically nobody has a good game against Joe Gomez on that side of the pitch. So I think we'd be mad not to go with Joe Gomez, as much as I'd like to see a Scouser in the team, what with it being the derby and all. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's going to be safe for the game against West Brom. You go with Gomez on the right, and then because of that, you go with Andy Robertson on the left. And then onto the midfield, I'm expecting us to play a sort of 4-2-2-2 formation that Jurgen Klopp has been using over the past few games. He's experimented with formation a lot. He said after the game against Spartak Moscow that it was actually a 4-4-1-1 formation. which is kind of similar to the 4-4-2 in a sense. So, you know, it's quite fluid. You know, it changes up depending on whether we're in possession, whether we're not, which players are in which positions at which time. It's an incredibly fluid formation, and that's the reason that it works so well. But fundamentally, it'll have two deep-lying midfielders, and I think those are going to be Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum over someone like Emre Can or James Milner, because I just think with Jordan Henderson definitely playing, you want someone with a little bit more attacking ability alongside him if you're playing a midfield too. And Emre Can and James Milner, both good players, but arguably I think they're both kind of sitting midfielders, and they're both better suited to the kind of role that Jordan Henderson will be playing. So I think it'll kind of be like how we set up against Spartak Moscow, but with Jordan Henderson instead of Emre Can alongside Gini Wijnaldum. And then in front of them, you're probably going to have Phil Coutinho on the left, Sadio Mane on the right, and then a front two of Mo Salah and Bobby Firmino, because I think they all have to start this game. There is a shout for rotation. You could drop Sturridge in there, you could drop Oxlade-Chamberlain there, you could even drop Dom Solanke in there, because all of them have shown over the past few games that they are more than good enough to be put into the Liverpool first team in the Premier League from the very start of the match. But I just think with the brilliance that that front four brought against Spartak Moscow, you'd be absolutely mad to drop them. And while, yes, you know, it's not too long after that game, you might be tempted to rest them just a little bit. I think you can do that resting later with the next two games against West Brom and Bournemouth after the derby, because it's the derby. We want to thrash Everton. We want to at least beat Everton, and we do need 3 points to keep the pace with the rest of the top four. So I think go with that front four in this game. So talking about Everton then, I think we all know what's been going on at Everton over the past few months. We've all had a very good laugh at them as Liverpool fans. You know, it really hasn't been going well for them. They had an awful start to the season under Ronald Koeman after everyone was expecting them to maybe try and break into the top six after spending an awful lot of money over the summer transfer window. They then binned Ronald Koeman off and brought in David Unsworth, and everyone was saying, oh, Unsworth, he understands the fabric of the club. He knows what it means to play for Everton. He'll galvanise the team. He'll get them playing. Didn't really work out, because it turns out David Unsworth, you know, maybe he's a nice guy, but he's not a Premier League manager at the end of the day. And unfortunately for Everton fans, they didn't realise that at the start. So David Unsworth then got rid of him as well. He's now part of the backroom staff, I think, so fair play to him. And then they've brought in Mr. Sam Allardyce. We all know about Sam Allardyce. We all know the kind of football that he's going to bring. And that's one of the reasons that I'm not super worried about this game, is because while Everton will bring that new manager bounce that, you know, can really help a team and can galvanise a team to get results, the thing with Sam Allardyce is we know how he's going to set up. When teams bring in new managers, sometimes that bounce is accompanied by a certain amount of unpredictability. You know, Liverpool might go into this game if Everton had brought in Diego Simeone or someone we didn't quite know that much about, who would bring a setup that we wouldn't be expecting and we wouldn't quite be able to deal with. We know exactly how Sam Allardyce is going to set Everton up. I know that, you know, he normally sets up teams to avoid relegation, and hopefully for his sake that will not be the plan at Everton. But Sam Allardyce, he only ever knows how to play a certain way. It's physical, it's defensively well drilled, it's all about long balls, it's all about tackles, it's all about generally playing absolutely hideous football. I mean, you only have to look at when he was at West Ham and they were in the top four around about December time. He was still playing ugly football, because that is the only way that Sam Allardyce knows how to set a team up. So even though Everton will have the new manager bounce and all that jazz, I still think because we know what we're going to get from them, I'm not super duper worried going into this game. So here are my 3 reasons why I think Liverpool will beat Everton. So first of all, I've mentioned it a little bit earlier on in the video, Liverpool know how to play against an Allardyce team now. They know how to play against teams that look to do the low block, look to soak up pressure, and then maybe scab 1 or 2 goals on the break over the course of the 90 minutes. We've showed it over the last month and a half now against countless teams, home and away as well, that when teams try and sit back and park the bus against us, we just know what we're doing now. And part of that is down to the fact that Jurgen Klopp has changed up his system a few times. You know, Liverpool don't play a set way, where the problem last season was when things went well, they went really well because the system was really working. But once teams worked out how to play against that system, Liverpool were just absolutely clueless and lost for ideas. Whereas now we've got that front four, which is just so fluid. They move about the pitch. You can never track any one of them. It just makes it so much easier to break down these teams that sit back and try and be organised, because, you know, how do you organise against a team that changes its formation about once every 10 minutes during a game? So I'm thinking that with that being a key feature of how Liverpool are playing at the moment, the fact that we can just break down an Allardyce style team, I'm really hoping that we can just take that into this game, treat it like any other game, and beat Everton. And second of all, mention them just now, the Fab Four are just fab. They're just absolutely fantastic. Coutinho, Firmino, Salah and Mane are all absolutely brilliant. They're all on fire. They all hit the target in the game against Spartak Moscow, and they were all absolutely sensational in that game. And I mean, when you think about it, some of them aren't even hitting top form. You know, Sadio Mane didn't come back from injury that long ago. I still don't think Sadio Mane has quite hit top gear, whereas maybe like Mo Salah or Phil Coutinho are doing that at the moment. So there is definitely more to come from this Liverpool side and that front four. So I just think, why would you drop them for the derby when we have the chance to absolutely batter Everton? And I think that is what the front four will be doing. And finally, Liverpool are just better than Everton. I mean, I've mentioned how we have inconsistencies against teams that aren't as good as us in the past. You know, last season we did struggle against teams lower down the league. So there's something about playing against Everton that just brings out that quality in Liverpool where we just say, we are better than them, so we're going to beat them. We saw it twice last season. We saw it at Goodison Park. Everton weren't good enough. We saw it at Anfield. Everton weren't good enough. And the fact of the matter is, Everton this season, even with Sam Allardyce, simply are not as good as Liverpool. I mean, when you take a look at the Everton lineup, take a look at their best starting 11 they could possibly put out. Would you take any of their players? The answer is probably no. Maybe you take Jordan Pickford. I personally would prefer Simon Mignolet. Neither of them are that amazing goalkeepers. But the fact of the matter is, everywhere on the pitch and in the dugout as well with the manager, Liverpool are better than Everton. And hopefully we can harness that. We can use that on Sunday to beat them in the Merseyside derby. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, why not give it a like? If you're new around here as well, hit that subscribe button. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll see you on Sunday evening after Liverpool have hopefully beaten Everton at Anfield in the Merseyside derby. Bye for now.